Thank you so much for having me here in such a special date, especially for us here in the US. And we are going to be talking about Spiritist movement in the world, a path of collaboration. Collaboration here being the key word, because when we talk about Spiritist movement in the world, we are talking about union, about opening a path of collaboration, all of us working together for a purpose, for an ideal. And our ideal is Spiritism, the precious lessons we have received from the immortals that expand our understanding of Jesus' teachings. But it's important first to establish the difference between Spiritism and Spiritist movement. Spiritism is the ideal, the set of knowledge we receive from the Spirit that was compiled by Kardec, and it's the basis of our beliefs. The Spirit Johann Caspar Lavater, that later would reincarnate as Euripides Barçanufo, in a communication to Kardec published in the Spiritist Review, May 1868, he said that Spiritism is a word so vast, so great for everything it contains, that it seems to me that a person who could understand all its depth could not utter this word without the utmost respect. When we talk about Spiritist movement, we are talking about the cluster of activities which whose objective is to study, dissemination, practice of Spiritism as contained in the basic works of Kardec. And also, those that compose the Spiritist movement are the individuals that will be working jointly or on their own in the Spiritist institutions. Maybe it is not yet in our nature to work together, but these times require otherwise. We are living in times of transition, and we are going to see changes in our way of being and in our way of living. One way or another, we are living those times now. The world is changing, and the current state of this pandemic has certainly obliged us to adapt and to reinvent ourselves. It is an imposition caused by an outward factor. We are learning through a very painful experience, but we are learning. Scientists have realized that if they wanted to achieve a good result in producing a vaccine, they have to work together. They have to collaborate. And nations have gathered together and are working to reach this goal. With all this, our perspectives are changing, and we cannot accommodate in our individual world anymore, especially when we are talking about Spiritism. We have to establish a path of collaboration. It is true that we are talking about personal changes, personal growth, which is necessary for the changing of the world. It is not without a purpose that Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." At the same time that he was inviting us to personal change, he was also indicating that it is through our changes that we will change the face of the world. There is no other way. And I like when I think about all this path of collaboration, think about all the changes we have to go through together. And I start thinking about Kardec. And we can see clearly that Kardec had a dream. In the Spirits book, question 798, he asks the spirits, will the Spiritism become a widespread belief, or it will continue to only be accepted by the minority? Kardec was worried about the future of Spiritism, not because of any kind of personal display of vanity, of seeing his ideas, or better yet, the ideas he brought to the world through the voices, communications of the immortals go ahead, but because he remembered that the Spirit of Truth once told him that his mission was meant to stir and transform the entire world. And the spirits reply to this question by saying Spiritism will certainly become the general belief and will mark a new era in the history of the human race. And also Kardec in the Medium's book, he says that he dreamt about the day that we would be corresponding with each other, forming the nucleus of this great Spiritist family, that we would one day unite all people in the common brotherhood of Christian charity. So to us, Spiritists was assigned the task of demonstrating that it's possible to live and be of the world, but also to have a spiritual view, a spiritual perspective. We have been invited to demonstrate that true fraternity, collaboration is possible, regardless of ethnicity, gender, and nationality. We have been called to join our talents and to establish the basis of this new world. Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, in one of his messages, he talks about collaboration, about teamwork, when he says, together we will be a unity. Separated from one another, we will be points of view. We know it's hard. We still cannot have a clear view of what the world will become. It's like when we are starting working on the first pieces of the puzzle. The other pieces are there, but they are still in disarray. We cannot see the whole, but each piece is important. Each piece matters, and without it, we will not have a complete work. And very much like in the puzzle, we have to learn to embrace each other. So when talking about the Spiritist movement in the world, we are talking about putting our differences aside, respecting each other, and truly be willing to work together. Spiritist practitioners, in this sense, they understand and respect the difference that may exist among human beings. They highlight and value the similitudes that exist between them and strengthen the global unity through the practice of true brotherhood. The work does not belong to us. We are only called to be part of it, to do our share. And it was Kardec that has chosen these words to be our banner for us to follow through them, which is work, solidarity, and tolerance. The alliance of work, solidarity, and tolerance. But the work demands personal sacrifice, prayer, vigilance in our faith, and above all, a high capacity of self-denial. Emmanuel once said that in the Christian arena, to start is easy, to continue very difficult, and one can only reach the end through sacrifice. And as if understanding how hard this would be to us, he continues saying in what we would call is like a prayer. And he says, "Dear Jesus, make us understand for mercy's sake that God does not create us through a system of mass production. And for this reason, each one of us sees life and the processes of evolution in a different way. Spiritism today is present in over 70 nations. Efforts to bring spirituality to people have been happening all over. Not only through Spiritism, evidently, but we are focusing on it because it is the ideal we have embraced for this life. I myself worry and struggle about using my time wisely, of conquering my imperfections, of learning to work together, of respecting everyone's opinion. It's not easy, I know. Not even the 12 initially called to serve Jesus managed to live without quarrels and dissensions. And when Paul joined, it required a great deal of wisdom and diplomacy on Peter's part to lead him and James to work together and to respect each other. So what is happening? We have been hearing the call. We have been called to dedicate ourselves and to do our share in this hour of transition. The times have arrived. So let us not lose focus of what we were called to do this time. We were invited to become the workers of the last hour. I say become because we have not yet finished the work. And sadly, perhaps, only a few of us will actually succeed. Because it requires working together instead of competing with one another. Many are called to work with Jesus, but few are chosen. Because in fact, few of them remain faithful to the work, placing the task before their ego. And Dr. Bezerra de Menezes tells us that if we are unable to live with those who also embrace our ideals and work with us because we differ at one point or another, how do we intend to turn the earth into a happy world if we do not transform ourselves for better? The differences that exist among us should serve only as useful instruments of mutual reflection and learning. They should never be used as pretext for dissidence and desertion. The passage of the widow's mite is very symbolic to us. It is not about how much we can give, but what it does represent to us, what we are giving. We may not give much, but we may be giving all we can. This is why it's not a matter of comparing and competing. It is a matter of saying to Jesus, "Oh Lord, I don't have much, but whatever I do have, I offer you." So we should think about it. We should think that if we want to see Spiritism really take place in our world, to be established once and for all, there is no other way than working together, than collaborating with each other. We are so many countries now, so many different languages, but still we can give support to one another. We can establish this beautiful community that can help us to move forward. And we are, in a way, doing that. And even being forced to do that, because it is the only way that we will be true servants of the work that was given to us, that we have committed to accomplish during this incarnation. So I would like to leave you with a message that was received by the medium Divaldo Pereira Franco in 2016 by the Spirit Bezerra de Menezes. That is actually the summary of everything that we are talking here about, the blessed opportunity that we are having to help each other, to learn to forgive, and to use the words of Kardec, work, solidarity, and tolerance, remembering that we are still inferior spirits, that we still have a lot to learn and to grow. And it's not by pointing fingers and criticizing that we are going to manage to accomplish the dream of Kardec, if it is not going to be restricted to a small group, but if it's going to spread through the world. And Dr. Bezerra de Menezes says, you have heard the profound message of the immortality of the soul. You have participated in the feast of light and enlightened yourselves with the evocation of Jesus' immortal message carved into your heart. Do not postpone the great moment of service with which you are committed. Jesus lives at the heart of our being and expects us to be faithful to him. It is not the first time that we have made a commitment to serve him and failed terribly, forgetting his message of brotherhood, so that the destructive ego would lead us to moral disasters. It is not the first time that he has spoken to the acoustics of our souls, and nevertheless, fascinated by his tenderness, we descend into the abyss of pleasure, deceptive and quick, forgetting to serve him. Once more, he returns through the immortals who are preceding him as an army, or as if the stars of the heavens descended to earth to illuminate the great night, and the commander of love would soon come after. Spiritists, you were told, love each other. Behold, it is repeated to instruct yourselves, but above all, may you dedicate yourselves to serving. Jesus is waiting for us. Jesus, as we need him, just as we need him, he needs our voice to bring him to those who are hollow to the truth or are paralyzed to the action of good. Not tomorrow, but today. Now is the right time to help. Go, and Jesus will go with you. And thank him, our zenith, our nadir, assuming the honor of loving and knowing him. So this is the message that Dr. Bezerra brought to us. This is the message that should resonate in each and every one's heart, so that as spiritists united, we can bring to light this new era that we were invited to become part of it, that we are here trying to conquer our own selves, our own imperfections, and put in practice finally the teachings that we have been hearing from Jesus for so many times. So let us do this work together. Let us collaborate with each other. There is much to be done. There is much to be accomplished. And it's not our names that are going to be there signing the work, but the name of Jesus. So let us work with Jesus and for Jesus in this work of goodness, of establishing love and enlightenment into our planet. Thank you so much.